Hi everyone, I'm Kelly, and this is how I started my balcony garden. So I've been caring for houseplants for the past 2 years, and this is the first time that I'm stepping into the world of outdoor gardening. I'm clearly not an expert.
Oh man, I don't think this soil looks very good.
Really? But I just crushed it!
And look at what has become of it.
But I wanted to document my growth and share it with you all. My husband and I live in Seattle with our dog Manny, and this is our little balcony. We love spending time out here, especially when we have some Seattle sun. This space plus a tomato starter gift that I got from my friend are what inspired me to try outdoor gardening. I started off this project by researching plants to buy. And looking for plants is like looking for a dog. So some things you'll look for when looking for a dog is you'll look at the different types of dogs, you'll see how much food they eat, how much they need to be outside, and how big they're gonna get. So it's really similar when you look for plants. You'll look at the different types of plants, see how much light they need, how much water or fertilizer they need, and how big are they gonna get. You wanna make sure that your home, your outdoor climate, and the level of care that you can provide matches your plant's needs. And what are plants' needs? What do plants need? I saw this online, and you can remember this by the acronym LAWNS. So light, air, water, nutrients, and space to grow. So first, light. One day when I was working from home, I took pictures of my balcony and each window at every hour. And then at the end of the day, I counted how many hours of sunlight each space got. The balcony got 10 hours of sun, the living room and kitchen windows got 7 hours, and the bedroom window and the dining room window got 5 hours. This was in June, so I knew that it would be less, especially as we approached winter. I don't have to worry about supplying air, but I should consider the outdoor temperatures and how cold it gets here. This was something that was new to me because I didn't have to consider this with indoor houseplants. So I learned about the different hardiness zones. So this is the 2012 US Department of Agriculture Plant Hardiness Zone Map. And it's the standards that gardeners can use to determine which plants can thrive in specific areas. The map is based on the average minimum winter temperature, and it's divided into 10-degree Fahrenheit zones. Here in Seattle, we're zone 8B, so I would keep that in mind when researching plants that I wanted to consider growing here. So I'll be watering all of my plants by hand. I'm not considering an irrigation system for this space right now. For nutrients, I'll buy the appropriate potting mix and fertilizer from the store. And for space, I'm just gonna consider plants that can grow in containers. The research phase was also really fun because I found the world of gardening YouTube. My current favorite channels are Epic Gardening, Hollis and Nancy's Homestead, and a farming channel called You Can't Eat the Grass. I learned a lot of tips from Epic Gardening and learned about growing specific plants from Hollis and Nancy's Homestead, and I love watching You Can't Eat the Grass's monthly update videos of their family farm in British Columbia. Based on what I researched, I bought a tomato plant and a lavender plant to go along with my tomato starter. I repotted the tomato starter in this little pot. So this is the tomato start that I got from my friend. It looks a little sad right now, but I just watered it like not too long ago, and then it'll spruce right back up. But we're gonna put this in this 6-inch pot with the stem a little bit deeper than what it is at right now. But you can see there are these little fuzzy things, and you can plant that down in the pot because roots will grow from there. I left it inside for a day or two to get used to being in the pot before bringing it outside. Then I read that a tomato plant should be in an even bigger pot, so I repotted it again. I repotted the basil and the lavender as well, and after a few days, the plants looked okay. So it's July 1st. It's been very gray the past few days and also kind of like wet. I repotted the tomato plant and I got a basil plant and repotted that on the weekend. but both of them I feel like haven't been doing the best because it's been cold outside. But yeah, the basil plant has been looking pretty sad ever since I repotted it, and I think it's because the soil is too moist. I'm not sure. My friend mentioned the tomato plant did look kind of sad, and I feel like it's because of the wind and just cold weather in general, but it's not too concerning to me. I'm just hoping that it's gonna grow stronger because it's pretty deep in there, and so I hope all those roots do end up growing. And then I also have my lavender plant, which I originally had outside but decided to keep inside because it has been very cold and wet, and lavender likes staying very dry. So this dude is staying inside until the weather decides to chill out. The next day, I decided that I wanted to add more than just these 2 pots to my balcony garden. I had been watching a lot of gardening and farming videos on YouTube, which made me really excited for what I could do in this space. But at the same time, I started to get a bit overwhelmed because of all the different plants, which ones could grow in Seattle, what season to start them. Do I get a shelf or a small raised bed or a bunch of containers? Do I start from seed? Do I buy starters? There are just so many ways to go about this. It's all really fun, but I don't want to be overwhelmed with like choices or feel like I'm not experienced enough and just get like intimidated or anything like that. And I just want to like start so that I can, you know, get at least that experience. And so I started. I looked online to get ideas of what our balcony garden could look like. I started with one of my favorite Instagrammers, Studio Plants. She has an amazing blog that I've read pretty much every single houseplant blog post on. And this time I went to her blog and looked at her yearly gardening updates and looked at her setup and tried to get ideas of what could potentially work for our space. As always, I turned to YouTube. I watched a few videos, got some ideas. I also looked online on Amazon, tried to look at different products, but I couldn't find something that matched exactly what I wanted. I thought about how Best Dressed made a clothing rack from wood and metal pipes, and I thought that that's something that I could potentially make. So I looked on Pinterest for ideas of plant stands that use similar materials, and that's when I decided that we were gonna make this thing. I don't have any experience building anything from scratch. I've assembled furniture before, but I don't think that really counts. And I'm not even close to the Sorry Girls DIY level, but I went for it anyway. I measured the balcony and drew up some initial designs. I mainly wanted it to fit on this side of the balcony, split right down the middle, and be versatile enough so that I could have different options for what type of plants to put in each spot. I decided on this last design because it had a top shelf where I could put a little planter and enough space on the bottom where the plants underneath would get a lot of light and they had space to grow. Now we had to plan how we were gonna make this thing, and this is where I'm very thankful for my husband. The constraints were the existing pots, the planter that I was gonna put on top, and of course the balcony itself. We drew up a 3D version of how this would look. We looked on Home Depot's websites for the existing parts, drew up the design based on the parts that we could buy, and then planned how much of each item we needed. We built the frame first, so we knew exactly how much wood to buy during the next Home Depot trip, and that was actually a good call because we ended up buying the wrong part because it was placed in the wrong bin.
Got the wrong size because it was in the same bin.
We also slightly modified the design with different connectors and splitting up some of the pipes just so that the length on each side would be a little bit more even. After another trip to Home Depot, we had everything we needed. We assembled the frame again to verify that everything looked good. Oh.
This is upside down.
We sanded the wood.
I didn't even look up what to do. I'm just doing what I think should be done.
stained the wood, took the frame apart to spray paint it again, reassembled the frame and ran into another issue where we couldn't take some pieces apart. And after another trip to Home Depot, we completed the frame again. We added the flanges, drilled the frame to the wood, drilled the casters to the wood, and finally it was done. It's Wednesday, July 22nd, and we finished the balcony plant stand. So it's been about a month and a half since finishing this balcony garden plant stand, and I absolutely love it. I love that it's pretty versatile and that it is a good fit for the current plants and any other future plants I do decide to put on there. I especially love the bar on top because I envisioned it initially to have like some sort of hanging plant on it, but it ended up being perfect to help provide support for my tomato plant, which is actually fruiting right now. Spoiler. So we currently have 4 tomatoes on there, which is so exciting because when I first started this balcony garden journey, you know that I had a struggle with the tomato plants, so you can see she's thriving. Also, what ended up being perfect was the seed tray that I bought was a perfect fit for this bottom right side. I didn't even measure that or really plan to have any sort of seed tray, but it just fit perfectly right in there. I also really like that we added the casters because it gives me the option of being able to move it, which will help a lot when we do add more to the balcony garden outside. We can decide to move it to a different side or just keep it as is. Most of the time it's sitting right here, but there was one night where it was kind of windy, so I decided to move it on this side of the balcony. But I think I just did it more because like I could, so I wanted to. So one of my favorite parts are these little crystals that I added. It makes me appreciate the sunny days even more because they just shine these little rainbows across the plants and across the balcony. It definitely has its imperfections, like it's not totally level, all the pipes aren't totally straight, and we didn't spray paint every single part, so some of them rusted immediately, and some of the other parts have already started to rust. But of course, I still love this balcony plant stand because it is functional and it reminds me of the struggles that Anthony and I went through to make it. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun creating this space and making this video to share my story with you all. I'll be sharing more videos with just how this outdoor space progresses, how my plants do, and any other plants that I do end up adding. So please subscribe to my channel to join this little internet plant fam, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.